So sometimes when you're practicing, you may feel like you hit a rut and you're not exactly sure how to move forward because you just feel bored in your practice time. Maybe you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again, or you're just getting tired of doing your scales or technique or different things that you're working on. Today I'm going to share with you 4 specific ways that you can practice to help you keep from getting bored during your practice time. These 4 different things are some ways that I have personally used over the years to keep my practicing fun and interesting while still getting the practicing done that I need to get done. So let's jump right in. My first tip is to choose several different pieces that you are working on at the same time. What I usually do is I choose one piece that's going to be more challenging, that pushes me in a certain technique that I want to learn, or pushes me a little bit further in terms of how challenging it is. So one challenging piece, and then the others, maybe 2 or 3 other pieces I choose that are just for fun, that I really love and enjoy. They may still be a little bit of a challenge, but I try to choose ones that are more reinforcing skills that I already know, rather than putting something new that I've never learned before, or something that's going to be extremely challenging. Now, the second tip that I have is to create a comprehensive list of the scales and the chords and the different piano techniques that you want to learn right now. So maybe that's you want to learn all of the octave scales in all 12 of the major keys, for example. So then list all of those. Maybe you want to learn all the triad chords that are in all the major keys and all the minor keys. Those are just examples, but just make a list of all of the different skills and techniques that you want to learn. Once you have that list prepared, break it down and create a schedule for yourself. So this could be a weekly schedule, this could be a monthly schedule, it could be whatever you want it to be. But create a schedule where every single practice day that you do, you're practicing something different each day from that list. And you want to create this schedule in a way where you are coming back sometimes to repeat certain scales or techniques or skills frequently enough that you will learn it, but also not so frequently that you get tired and bored of doing that same scale or chord over and over again. So I'm going to share with you guys an example that I have made in the past. I've made a lot of these different lists myself over the years, and some of them I've just handwritten, where I just wrote down the days of the week and then what I wanted to practice each day of the week, and then I would just repeat that week by week. Sometimes I've created a monthly schedule. So no matter what skill level you're at, whether that's very, very beginner or you're an advanced pianist, this can work for you, because you just take whatever it is that you specifically want to learn and then create a manageable schedule that will work for you, where you are repeating these things often enough that you'll learn the skills that you're wanting to learn. Now, my third practice tip is, when you're practicing the same piece or song over weeks or months, is to practice in very small chunks of music. So rather than playing the whole entire song over and over and over again, it can be much more helpful to just take 1 measure or 2 measures or 3 measures, something that's a little bit smaller, and working on just that section. So what I personally like to do is I sometimes like to sit down, play 1 time from top to bottom through a piece, and as I'm going through, I usually take mental notes of where I'm having trouble. So wherever those measures or chunks of measures are that you always struggle with, that are always really hard for you to get through, take note of those spots, and once you've finished that run through, then go back to those spots and practice just the measure or just the few measures that trouble spot is. One thing that I really like to use, and that's very, very simple, is I take these little sticky dots and I use them to mark those spots in the music. So I'll stick these on the spots in my music that are tricky and that I really want to practice. And the nice thing with them also is that they come off super easily. So as soon as I have mastered a measure, I can just take it off and I can move it to a different spot that I need to practice, or just take it off completely. Another way that I enjoy practicing just small little bits at a time rather than the whole piece all at one big bite is to take just 1 musical phrase at a time and practice that. So if you're not familiar with what a musical phrase is, it's basically where you hear a natural ending in the melody and the harmony. Similar to when somebody is speaking and you can hear that there's kind of an ebb and flow, and sometimes you hear that there's like a natural ending at the end of a sentence, or when you're taking a pause, taking a breath. In music, there's the same thing. So sometimes I'll take just 1 musical phrase and practice it in different ways. So I might practice just right hand alone and then left hand alone and then put it together. Or maybe I'll practice really listening for the melody. So thinking which line has the melody? How can I bring that out more? How can I voice that a little bit better? What dynamics should I be using? Are there any articulations that I haven't noticed and that I'm not bringing out, like staccatos, legatos, and so on? Another way to practice that can kind of mix things up is to start at the end of a piece rather than at the beginning of a piece, either one measure at a time or just small chunks of measures working backwards in a piece. So those are a few ways to practice music in small chunks rather than taking the whole piece over and over and over again, which can become so tiring. And honestly, it's so easy to become distracted when you do this, because if you play the same thing over and over and over again, it's easier to miss some of the things that are going on just because you're playing almost like in a rut over and over and over. When you practice in small chunks, like we just talked about, that can really help to break up that boredom and help you not to fall into practice ruts where you're practicing over and over things that might not be the highest quality practice. Now finally, my fourth tip is to spice things up as you're practicing. So here are a few ideas for spicing up your practice time and making it more fun. I'm going to give you an example right now with a piece that I'm currently working on, which is Chopin's Etude Opus 10 number 1 in C major. Now this is a piece that has a lot of chords in it, and they are written as arpeggios, which means that they are broken chords. So as an example, if I were playing the first line of this etude as written, I would start by probably practicing it one time very slowly. Now, those are all broken chords, but one way that I can spice it up and make it a little bit different is now I'm going to play the chords blocked, which just means I'm playing them as one chunk at a time rather than broken up into the different fingers. Now when you do this, it's important to make sure that you're still using the same fingerings that are written when it's broken, because you don't want to be practicing it in a different way than how you'll ultimately be playing it. But spicing it up like this can help your brain think of some of these chords in a different way, and it can help you to learn these chords even better by coming at it from kind of a different angle. Now, another way that you can spice things up and make it a little different is that you could change the articulation. So as an example, with this piece, the chords will ultimately be played legato, very smooth. So to make it a little different right now, I'm going to practice this first line of music with a more staccato articulation. Now another way that I can kind of spice up this practice is I can change the rhythm. Now this type of practice has been especially helpful for me in a piece like this one, where I want to ultimately get it up to a very fast tempo. Right now, these arpeggios are written as 16th notes. So it's 1 E and 2 E and So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create rhythms where I change up the rhythm of those 4 notes over and over. So as my first example, I'm going to have the first note be long and then the 3 notes after it be short. So like bum, ba 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 bum, ba 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 bum, ba 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 bum. And now I'm going to do it where the second note is long. Ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, 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 ba-ba-bum. And then the third one would be the third note being long, so ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum. And finally, the fourth note would be the long one. Ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum. And one last idea for kind of spicing things up is you could work on memorizing just little chunks of the piece at a time. Like you could work on practicing all of the right hand or all of the left hand, or just one chunk of the song that may be a little bit of a struggle for you, Or you could memorize a whole piece of music, which is also really fun because once you've memorized it, you can just play it anytime without even needing to pull the music out. So those are the 4 techniques that I would recommend that you try if you're starting to feel bored in your piano practice and you want to find some new ways to practice and make things interesting. I hope this was helpful for you all today. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like down below, and you can subscribe to this channel for weekly videos on learning to play the piano, play the violin, and make beautiful music. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.